Listen up. Today we're going to learn about national stories.
Stories about George Washington or something?
Think a bit bigger than just George Washington.
A story about the Grand Canyon? It's pretty big.
Sorry, not that type of big. I mean, it covers more than just one person or thing. A story about a bunch of Grand Canyons? I'm talking big stories from history that are simplified so they are easy to tell.
Simple sounds quick. Let's get this over with.
Well, that's the problem. Simple stories don't always tell the whole story. Let's start with the simple story of Columbus you've probably heard many times. The incomplete story goes something like this. In 1492, Columbus discovered a new continent, met native people, and lived alongside them in land he claimed for Spain. Eventually, other explorers would come to the New World and do the same. The end.
Simple. I like it.
Yes, but is it too simple? This was not a new world for Columbus to discover. Native peoples of these islands had their own homes, culture, and technology before Columbus. And he took gold and people of this region back to Spain against their will. Native people fought back, and many were enslaved. The simple version of this story leaves out important details.
So there are other stories like this?
Lewis and Clark's expedition. As the story goes, they explored the wild frontier. Together, they discovered and named new plants, animals, and landmarks. Along the way, they met a Shoshone woman named Sacagawea. Sacagawea guided Lewis and Clark and helped them negotiate with many tribes. That's the simple story, but it leaves out details. This was not a wild frontier waiting to be discovered. The plants, animals, and landmarks had already been known and named by native nations. What little we know about Sacagawea says she knew a lot about these lands and their wildlife. But she used it to aid travel through native lands, not make deals for the United States or deals for the explorers. Yeah, I never heard that side of it. A lot can be left out of a national story.
How do we know what is real history?
First, you have to keep in mind that any story told can have errors. And most importantly, you have to check the sources of any story.
What's a source?
It's where a story came from. Let's look at the story of the Revolutionary War. England and its colonies fought for the claim and control of North American land. The colonies finally defeated England, resulting in a new nation. This story leaves out some details. The British and the colonists weren't the only fighters in this war. Native peoples had been fighting to protect their land for decades. This war was part of that fight. Individual communities had to decide what was best for them. As a result, some fought on either side of the war, while others chose to stay neutral. When the war ended, Native people would continue to do what was best for them as more land was taken.
What about Thanksgiving? Is that a national story?
Let's look. The Pilgrims first settled in the New World at a place called Plymouth Plantation. They had a feast to celebrate their first harvest. They invited friendly Indians and everyone was friends. The national story changes a detail from English records. The Indians weren't invited. The Wampanoag describe it differently. The Massasoit, their leader, brought 90 men to investigate the settlement. The Pilgrims offered them food and they stayed, hunting and offering food of their own. But they did so to keep an eye on and negotiate with the Pilgrims, not to celebrate their claim of the land.
I have another question. Does knowing the truth about these stories help? It kind of makes history more sad.
The truth is important even when it is sad. The truth can help us learn from our mistakes and help us understand each other better so that we can be better listeners and create better communities. And remember to ask for more details about any story. Anyone have another question?
Actually, I have one.